Here we have the inside of the Elddis Majestic 285. If we firstly walk over to the main control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. After that, we then have water pump on and off. So pump off, pump on. Obviously we need the water pump on to be able to get water out the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler up if it's been drained down. We then have the main isolator for all of the lights on board. They can all then be individually turned on and off on their own switches. And then we have warning light on and off just here. All other information is then given via scrolling just here. It does not show up particularly well on the camera, but I will explain what I'm seeing. So at the moment it's just displaying the time, and it's also letting us know that we're hooked up to main supply with a little picture of a 2-pin plug. There we go, we can see just for a second. If we now start arrowing, it will let you know how much water is on board. It will let you know how much water is sitting in the waste tank. We then have user settings. If I now hit enter, we can now go into that and we can basically adjust the contrast of the screen. Whether or not we want key beeps on or off. How quickly before it goes into standby. Warnings to let us know when water level is low and when wastewater is high. Warnings on and off to let you know if you lose main supply. And then warnings for leisure battery and vehicle battery, and then it will just let you know what firmware it's running. After that, we then have condition of leisure battery, and then back to the beginning again. Above that, we just have light switches just here for the top lighting. And then we have the control panel for the Elddis heating and hot water. So if we turn the control panel on just here, once we've done that, it will let us know if we have main supply connected with a little picture of the 2-pin plug here, and it will give us an internal temperature of the motorhome just here. If I now press menu, it will bring up its basic controls. So you will see up the top here, we have the thermostat for the heating. So literally plus and minus, just pick whatever temperature you would like your heating to be at. After that, we then have hot water. So currently hot water is off. Hot water on. And then hot water on a boost. The boost facility is extremely handy if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want a longer shower. If you do perform the boost and the heating is actually in operation, basically the heating will turn off because it needs to rob the power to be able to do it. After we've picked heating and what we want to be doing with the hot water, we then need to give the unit a power source, because at the moment it hasn't been given one, so it's not actually on at the moment. So we have here a little lightning strike, which is main supply. So we can either run on 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatts, or 3 kilowatts, just depending on the amperage of the site that you're on. If we do not have main supply, we can run on gas by highlighting the little gas flame. And if we want to, and we have both power sources available, we can do as we are at the moment and run in dual fuel. And then we will get up to temperature extremely quickly. It is extremely handy, especially in the winter months. After that, we then have the settings menu. So within here we have a night timer and a day timer. It is just a matter of clicking on it, turning it on and off just up here, setting the temperature you would like it to be, and then when you want it to begin and stop. Button here to invert the backlight, and this one here to tell the boiler that you do not want hot water made throughout that period. And then we have exactly the same again, but just for the day. Prioritises what the system actually prioritises in using when in that dual fuel mode. So at the moment it will favour main supply over gas. So it will use both power sources to get you up to temperature nice and quickly, but then it will shut the gas off and solely maintain on the electricity. If you are on a really low amp site, you can flip it on its head so it actually uses more gas, less electric. Brightness of the screen, etc. on this one. This one is not used on this model, and obviously if you're going to be using timers, we just set the time and day of the week just here. If we now arrow down, again, these ones are not used on this particular model. The only one I can actually gain access to is this one here, which I will show you in a moment. Antimicrobial on this one here. You do need to be using night mode as well if you're going to use this one. And then basically what will happen is at about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, the boiler will come on and rapidly heat itself up to kill off any bacteria that may be in it. Temperature offset if you don't think the thermostat is quite correct. High altitude mode, so if you are using the motorhome 1,000 meters above sea level, just turn this on and it will make the heating system run better at that air pressure. Whether or not you want key beeps on or off, instead of having multiple timers, you can just have one delayed start and stop. Pump settings, just leave it on thermal. We do not want it on continuous, or otherwise the fluid in the radiators will just continually go round. Full factory reset, so if there is a problem you can reset it. External start you do not need to worry about. Obviously language, service, which is more for the workshop, but you can actually see what everything is up to. So temperatures of water and the ethylene glycol for the radiators. And then installed accessories. If we now highlight the load monitor and we come back out of it and we now arrow back up, you will see that we can gain access now. So if I press this one, if you know how many amps the site is that you're on, so say you're on a 10 amp site, it now does not matter that I've left it on 3 kilowatts. It will not allow us to trip. And it will now be here. And if I now go back into it, I can obviously turn it back off again. There we go. Next, we have the location of the freestanding table just here. And if we then jump across to the other side, we have the sink just here. And beneath that, we have the Dometic fridge on and off on this button here. And then just pick your power source just here. So at the moment we're running on main supply with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. We then have gas. These units auto ignite themselves. And then lastly we have 12 volt maintain for when we're driving. At the moment if I press this, we're going to get a beeping noise and a warning triangle just here, just to let us know. Reason being is the engine isn't running. If you've tried to light the unit on gas and there may be a bit of air in the system, or the gas bulb's not turned on and it fails, again we will get the warning. But this also works as a gas reset to allow it to try again. It does show it just here. And then it is just push down to open. We then have the microwave just here. Do make sure that all the contents is removed for travel. And then we have all the usual stuff. We have adjust for timer, etc. just there. Clear, quick start and stop, and power, wait, defrost, etc. there. The actual microwave itself is plugged in just up here. We then have the hob, so we have one electric hot plate that again will work when you're hooked up to main supply, and that operates on this one just here. The other 3 burners all run on gas, and it is push in, twist and push the igniter just here. If we then drop down, we then have the grill just here, and again it's just push in, twist and push the igniter. And the oven beneath that. This particular model also has a light as well. Beneath we have the location of where the hot plate is plugged in, and we also have a couple of gas isolation taps in here. You'll usually find them wherever there's a gas appliance. These two are both in the on position, and I always say they can stay like that. I always say smell gas in the van, turn the gas bottle off. If we now come to the single bed on this side, and we now drop down this flap here, we will find the consumer unit. So here we have the trips, so we have the individual MCBs just here, and they're labelled up, RCD and the test button just here. And then beneath that we then have all the 12-volt fuses, and again they're all labelled up. Tucked just down here we have the isolator switch for the tank heaters. So tank heaters off, tank heaters active. If the switch is like this, the tank heaters are not necessarily on. It does need to be about 3-4 degrees outside, and there has to be water actually in the tanks for them to come on. But if you do not want them to come on at all, you can just isolate it here. If we now actually go underneath the bed just here, you can now see the back of the consumer unit just here, and the battery charger just sits at the back of it. We then have the water pump just here with the surge dampener just sitting beside it, and then we have the Aldi boiler itself just here. To drain the boiler down for winterization, it's just done on the yellow lever just there. Just make sure the water pump is turned off, and then literally flap it up like so, and it will then drain all the water out of the boiler. To refill it, flap it back over as we have done just there. Make sure you've got water in your fresh tank, turn your water pump on, and it will re-prime the boiler back up again. If we then go across to the other side, we have the awning winding handle just located in this box just here. And then if I now take this off here, you will see the leisure battery just here. This particular model gives you the option to be able to have a second leisure battery, and that can be popped just underneath here. In this overhead locker just here, we have the location of the solar panel regulator just here. We do not need to do anything with it. It will just charge the leisure battery as it is required. So you'll see currently a flashing green light letting you know it's in operation. Whenever the battery is fully charged, you'll get a solid green light. And then we also have in here the location of the television aerial. So we have the digital amplifier just here, on and off on the side, control the boost just here, and then the television aerial just here. Just undo the collar, and we can then push the mast up to get it into the position we require. We can turn this part just here as well if we want to flip from horizontal to vertical for additional tuning, and then make sure that the mast is down for travel. And also do not over tighten these collars because they can split. We then have main supply just here, 12 volt, and then aerial fly lead in for your telly just there, and then 2 USB charge points. In the roof we have the PIR sensor for the alarm. We then have the Omnivent fan. To use this, wind to raise the roof vent itself. Middle button then turns the unit on, and then we have arrows out for extraction, arrows in for cooling, variable fan speed just by pressing. And then make sure that the roof vent is then closed for travel. We then have carbon monoxide alarm and smoke alarm just here. And as I said earlier, most of the lights can be turned on and off on their own switches. This switch here is not for the lights. It does control the circulation fan just here, so if you've got your heating on, you can blow some of the warmth from the heating out of this vent just here.